Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, September 15th, Hump Day, as well as the middle of September 2021. Oh my goodness, time is flying, like Larry said. Time is speeding up. It is. Remember, he gave the illustration when you have a ball on a string and you keep cutting the string a little shorter and twist it around your head, it's going to go faster and faster the shorter the string is. So the closer you get to the event, the more time speeds up. It really is happening. They have, of course, if they're saying that time is speeding up by a millisecond, it sure doesn't feel like that's what it's speeding up by. Um, I got a phone call a couple days ago that I didn't write down notes. Hey, Greg, I'm gonna Great White North. My goodness, are you back? Don't tell me you're back in Alaska, or are you up in North Dakota? Oh my goodness, you be safe. So there was a story that he read, um, and then he clicked out of it and wanted to go right back and read it again, and it was gone. And it was a claim that there were 75 people in every single state dying because of what had been, um, the numbers are going to increase, and we need to just be expecting that. And I watched a video a day or two ago that talked about, and I had a conversation with somebody about this, the fact that this illness around the world and what it's really doing. We know that Bill Gates' dad was a eugenicist, and we know Bill Gates gets very excited about the thought of eugenics. Um, and the comment was made that what this illness has been is a ritual sacrifice for the elite to get um, for the elite to get power to bring in their new world order, to bring in what Bible says is the Antichrist system. You know, I keep hearing people asking the question, did you see this coming? Did you know this was going to happen? They're so shocked at what's going on. And I'm going, how can you think like that? What's wrong with American Christian conservatives that they didn't see? I don't understand people not seeing all this coming. I know it's little by little, little by little, little by little. And so that was the whole point, was to take their time. Khrushchev said, we will take over your schools and teach them communism until little by little we take over. We don't have to come against you with guns and big weapons. We're going to take over the schools, and we're going to destroy America from the inside, which is what they are doing. But he told us what? In the 50s or 60s, that was the plan. I mean, just even Madalyn Murray O'Hara being part of that system to take prayer out of school and Bible reading out of school. Um, there was, I know who talked about the eugenics. It was like a phone call I got from somebody, and it was a former Satanist who's now a Christian who called into Alex Jones' show and was talking about what has been going on is a ritual sacrifice to empower them. Remember, I say there are things that empower the demons. That's what all this blood is about. And I got to thinking afterwards, that's why we have war. That's why we have abortion. It is to create bloodletting, to empower the demonic. But, I began to think about the fact that how Satan copies everything that God does. He doesn't do anything original, he copies. So with God, in order to be saved right from the fall, Satan would have, when Eve was tempted by the serpent, the devil would have seen what God's remedy was. It was to sacrifice a lamb. And so Satan would have seen that blood is required for salvation. Blood is required. They had to sacrifice all these animals all through the New Testament. And then we get into through the Old Testament. And then we get into the New Testament, and once and for all, Jesus is sacrificed, and there is no more need. But without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sins. I don't remember where that verse is, but it is a verse. And so Satan requires blood. But God never required human blood. He never did. There were times when, people were killed through a plague because of their sin, and that was judgment. But it wasn't a matter of salvation through blood sacrifice. That was never God's way. But the innocence of a lamb equating to a baby's innocence. Yes. Well, but with Satan requires the blood of humans. So Satan is requiring blood because he's copying, but he is requiring the blood of humans. So he is distorting. He copies and distorts everything. It was interesting. I read a chart yesterday that talked about the number of flu deaths over the last decade. And from one year to the next, it was anywhere from 29 to 40,000 per year flu deaths. And last year it was 1,800 and something, 1849 or something like that. And why is that? How did those 1,800 get through as actually being counted as flu deaths? Well, they were probably at the beginning of January before they, the word went out to count everything as what. So, the lies. And remember, I talked yesterday about in Psalm 9 about God's hatred of lying and his bringing his judgment coming on the wicked for their falsehoods. And then I got to thinking about all the distractions to make us forget about what happened, the recall of Newsom. And apparently Newsom won by quite a bit. And now they're blaming the Republicans for failing to go and vote. But people would take their mail-in ballot to the precinct and say, here's my ballot, I want to vote. It's filled out, here it is, I want to turn it in. And they're told, no, go away, you already voted. They said, I didn't vote. But they weren't allowed to turn in their real ballot because somebody had already voted in their name. I mean, to see the pictures of people stuffing ballot boxes in the middle of the night, the cheating that is blatant, and they think they can get away with it. But we have to remember Psalm 37. Oh, a security initiative. Biden's going to speak at 5 Eastern tonight. Oh, my word. What next? I think what's going on is an attempt to wake up the people. We're supposed to forget about the rigged election in California now. In January, the Georgia Senate race, the Senate runoff, in November. We're not to see the chance of decertification. Arizona needs to start this domino falling, because when they do something, then more will happen. They're doing things to help us forget about what happened in Afghanistan and the debacle that was, just a couple weeks ago. Don't look at the danger of chemicals being put in your body or that you're breathing because of what's being, sprayed in the air. It was interesting that Biden said recently, I want to be like you. No, no, that's not what it was. Where is the thing about what Biden said we have to come together, was a quote that Biden said. Well, this is the Democrat way. Yes, we have to come together, but they're not going to make any budge towards any kind of compromise. I've seen this my whole life, where you've got people saying, "Let's get together." No, that what they really mean is, you forget your way, you come over to my way. You know, the lies they tell, the when they're lying. There's somebody, was it Larry or somebody else, who said, how do you know when a Democrat's lying? When they open their mouth. Larry said, watch what they're saying when they're accusing the Republicans or somebody else of having done something, because what they're doing is they're telling you what they have done. Now, the psychological term for that is projection, but it happens all the time. I listened to somebody talking about being a prayer warrior this morning on It's Supernatural with Sid Roth. It was Becca Greenwood, and she made the comment, "I want to be like you, Lord." And I thought, really, how many of us can say that we want to be Christ-like too easily? Do we really understand what that means? He overturned the tables. He took on people that were doing something wrong. He took them on with a vengeance. Are we willing to be outspoken like that? Look at forgiveness. Forgiveness is, he was willing to die. And when I think of forgiveness, I think of my being willing to sacrifice myself for the sake of the one who's being forgiven, because I'm letting them off the hook. I'm willing to take on me the judgment so that they can be freed. How many of us are willing to do that? Truly can honestly and sincerely say we're willing to do that for another person, especially somebody that's hurt you so badly? How many people truly want to be holy and righteous? We want the power of resurrection. We say we want to know God. We want the power of the resurrection, but that verse also talks about the fellowship of suffering with other believers. Jesus was so misunderstood. He was betrayed. He was spat on. The violence that he suffered, and the torture he suffered. And then the people with their, following him, all these followers, the growing number of followers, and the fickle love. When the leaders started yelling, "Crucify him," they all took up the chant, because Jesus wasn't what they expected him to be. Our lives so often are not what we expected it to be. We have this expectation that if I'm going to follow Christ, then my life is going to be, X, Y, or Z. Look at how many people hated the truth that he told. Yes, Pam, it is a command, and we have to, if we want to be Christ-like, then we have to be obedient. And that's why I keep coming back to this command that I have had to learn was a command. Too bad I never heard a pastor preach on this to have taught me some of these commands, where we are commanded in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, in everything give thanks, no matter how bad it is. We easily say God is always good. God is good. We want to say God is good if something good happens to us. But can we say God is good if something negative that we consider negative happens to us? I mean, I thought that my childhood was some kind of sick joke from God. And 25 years later, took 25 years later, I recognized that what I had been through and what I had learned was actually the greatest gift God could have possibly offered to me. As hard as it was, the lessons I learned, the things I was exposed to because of it, learning to live alone and be okay with that, to recognize that God is sufficient, Christ is sufficient for me no matter what I'm going through. Those were incredible lessons, but they were very painfully learned. But that pain was a gift. People with leprosy don't realize people with leprosy realize something that we don't realize, what a gift pain is, because a leper doesn't feel pain, and so they don't know to take their hand away for something that's burning them until it's a severe injury. They don't know when a bone is broken to stop walking on this broken foot or broken leg. They don't feel it, and so they don't know, and so they get even worse injuries. And we don't recognize how, when people are suffering excruciating pain like Larry did, like I have relatives that do. We've had people in our group here that go through excruciating pain. It's hard to thank God for the pain, and yet to not have an experience of pain would be even more deadly, literally. So the commands, yep. General Milley, oh my goodness, I suppose you've heard in the news what's going on with him. The fact that in October and then again on January 8th, he connected with the military leader in China, claiming that Trump was getting ready to nuke China, which of course she knew would not be true. And he would forewarn when it was going to happen, getting in China's good grace. This kind of stuff is traitorous. And he told his staff that they were to take orders from no other authority but them. They were, in other words, not allowed to obey the president. You can only obey me. And he was going to go against what President Trump wanted. Why he was allowed to stay in office, I don't know, other than it seems to be a plan to make sure the people see the evil going on at the top of all phases of government. Trump was asking, was this a coup that he's conspiring with the Chinese, that he's lying about about an coming attack? And then I think I already mentioned that Gavin Newsom has won by a considerable margin. But, that's ballot stuffing. We know that. And, of course, that the media is going to talk about those awful Republicans crying cheat, 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 as if it's not true. I watched a few minutes of this morning. There was a Senate committee hearing about where several top U.S. gymnasts, I was going to say gymnastic athletes, gymnasts were testifying before the Senate about the sexual abuse that went on with the team doctor, Larry Nassar. And I listened to Simone Biles. I didn't listen to any more. And yeah, it's sad, the sin going on and how rampant it is. I am proud of one thing that Arizona has done, even though they haven't decertified yet, which they need to do because others will follow. Arizona is the first state to be suing the government or suing Biden or whoever this lawsuit is against. I didn't read who it was against. But there is a lawsuit against the mandates that Arizona is the first state to sue. And I hope there will be many other Republican governors that will join that lawsuit. This needs to be stopped. the military is extremely compromised because of the number. They're claiming that they all need to get, you know what, and the health of our military is deteriorating because of what's going on. So I was talking a little bit ago about Jesus turning over the money changers' tables in the temple. So against Biden himself, thanks, Michelle, the lawsuit of Arizona. So I was talking about Jesus and his anger, visual anger. There is a righteous anger that's appropriate. You don't let the sun go down on that kind of anger. You have to let it go. You can't just hold it. But there is a righteous anger that is appropriate. So after Jesus' anger at what was going on in the temple, he stayed in the temple and was teaching the people. And so I'm going to get to... So Matthew and Mark tells this story, and then Matthew and Mark are quite parallel in quite identical in the things that they say that Jesus taught about the end times. Now in Luke 21, we have a few new things added to this story. So first of all, Luke 21 starts up that he's still there at the temple, and he looks up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. So they would do it with great aplomb, of wanting people to notice what they're doing, and they would put in coins so that it would make a loud noise. But he also saw a certain poor widow casting in just 2 little tiny mites. Now in Jamaica, they actually had pennies, and then farthings were a half penny, and then a mite would be half a farthing. So they actually had these tiny coins, and when they would take the roll in Sunday school in some of the country churches, the kids would say present, the teacher would call their name, and then they would say how much their offering was going to be, and so many of them, present half penny, because that's all they could afford to give. It was a generous gift on their part. But oh my goodness, one of those stories that stuck with me. But here's the thing I love. Jesus said, "Of a truth I say to you, this poor widow has cast in more than they all. For they gave out of their abundance into the offering of God. But she, in her penury or her poverty, has cast in all the living she had left." Okay, I had another thought on this. It's gone. Slipped my mind that fast. Came and went. It's another teaching moment, but we'll move on. So there were some who were talking about the temple and how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts. And as for these things, he said, as for these things that you're looking at, the days will come where there will not be one stone left upon another. They're all going to be thrown down. And we know that happened in 70 AD when Tiberius called for the destruction of Jerusalem. And they completely destroyed the temple. And so the people asked him, "Master, when shall these things be? And what's going to be the sign that these things will come to pass?" And he said, now there's still some parallels here in Luke with Matthew and Mark. He said, "Take heed that you don't be deceived. Many will come in my name, saying, 'I'm Christ,' and the time draws near. Don't go after them." The Jews don't want to acknowledge Jesus Christ. And yet, Jesus said in John 14:6, "I am the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." I appreciate what Kat Kerr just said on Elijah's stream. She was talking about when Jesus died, he went into paradise. Remember, he told the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise." And it says somewhere in scripture that he went into paradise and he preached the gospel to the people that were there, because the people who had believed in God in the Old Testament did not go to heaven when they died. They went into paradise because they had not, that there was no knowledge of Jesus Christ yet. You can't come to the Father except through Jesus. And so he went and taught them about himself, and then took them to paradise when he was raised from the dead. So don't go after these people claiming to be Christ. The Jews are still looking for their Messiah. When you hear of wars and commotions or rumors of wars, don't be terrified. These things must first come to pass. The end is not yet, not by and by. Then he said to them, nations will rise against nations, kingdom against kingdom. Now this, all that I'm reading so far is parallel to Matthew and Mark. Matthew 24, Mark 13. Then he said to them, let's see, and great earthquakes will be in many different places, and there will be famines and pestilences and fearful sights and great signs from heaven. Stephen Benoon yesterday, it's on YouTube. He was talking about this large asteroid that the major countries are very concerned about. China wants to go up and nuke it, hoping to break it up so it won't do as much damage when it lands. There have been a lot of asteroids apparently that have landed in the oceans. And there's, great concern about, just even a ball this size, a rock this size, can leave quite a hole in the ground. So if this one is, oh shoot, I heard yesterday, I think he said how big it was. Is it as big as a house or a football field or something? I mean, it's huge coming in, and it could tilt the earth differently. And it's supposed to hit in October somewhere. They don't know exactly where, whether it's going to hit land or water. Anyhow, we've got earthquakes, famines, pestilences, and of course that's in, is it Romans 4 or Romans 6, where it talks about the different the four horsemen of the 4 horsemen that are coming, bringing famine and pestilence and the sword and so on. Fearful sights and great signs will be in heaven. But before all this even happens, they're going to lay their hands on you, persecute you, deliver you up. It says to the synagogues, but that was their ruling body. That was their political body as well. They're going to deliver you to prison. You'll be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, and it'll give you an opportunity to share your testimony. So settle it in your hearts not to meditate beforehand what you're going to say. I will give you a mouth of wisdom, which all your adversaries will not be able to resist. You will be betrayed by parents, brothers and sisters, kinfolk, friends. Other places have said children. Some of you, they will cause to be put to death. Remember Revelation, I think it's 2:10, might be 3:10, talks about that God has appointed some to die, some to be imprisoned, and some to survive. God has chosen what your end will be. And so with whatever happens, we are to rejoice in everything, give thanks. You're going to be hated of all men for my name's sake. We want to be loved, not hated. But that's part of the fellowship of suffering, identifying with Jesus Christ. Peter, when they were going to crucify him, he was so ashamed of having denied Christ that he said, I cannot be crucified upright. I can't identify with Christ that way. I'm not worthy. And so he was crucified upside down, which probably prolonged his suffering. In your patience possess ye your souls. Oh, it says, wait a second. You're going to be hated for my name's sake, but not a hair of your head will perish. In your patience possess you your souls. So we're to be patient through all of this because we are waiting for Christ's salvation, Christ to save us out of all of this. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that the desolation is nigh. And then let those, and this happened in 70 AD, but it's going to happen again. Let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. And I told you that's, they're going into Petra, Jordan. And that's where Oral Roberts put 80,000 Bibles for them. Let them that are in the midst depart. Don't let them that are in the country enter in. So if you're out in the countryside, don't go back to the city to get your stuff. When it's time to flee, you just got to go. These will be days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So, when we hear that we're going to have this kind of persecution, why are there so many in the church who think that we're going to be taken out before trouble comes? I don't understand that. Because before the late 1800s, people expected to go all the way through the tribulation, not be rescued out of it. And the church in China had been taught that there would be a pre-tribulation rapture, and they weren't prepared for what came upon them. They thought they'd be out of there. These are the days of vengeance, that all things written might be fulfilled. But woe to those who are with child. This was in Matthew and Mark as well. And to those that give suck, or who are nursing. There will be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. Now, is there going to be wrath on Christians in other lands, or is this just in Israel? See, that's where you get some of this confusion over when a rapture, harpazo, the taking away, snatching away will happen. You're going to fall by the edge of the sword, led away captive into other nations. We've seen this happen to the Jews. Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. There will be a time when, the church age ends. There will be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. And here's the little different take now in Luke 21. And upon the earth there will be distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear because of the things coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption is drawing nigh. And then he talked about the parable of the fig tree, where he reminds them, you see the buds coming and you know that summer is near. Likewise, when you see these things coming to pass, know the kingdom of God is very near. Verily I say to you, this generation shall not pass away until all is fulfilled. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Take heed, be aware, pay attention, take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. That's King James. I didn't pull up a different version to translate that. In other words, guard your heart with all diligence. Don't be drunk. Don't be overwhelmed by the cares of life, so that this day comes upon you unawares. My goodness, this move has left me so incredibly distracted. I was reading some news this morning about 9/11, watching some video, listening to the 911 calls that were taken, the recordings of some of the 911 calls. And I just started weeping. It was appropriate. I remembered having heard some of this on the day that it happened, weeping for the families left behind, weeping for what has come upon the earth since then, the lies that have been told as we wait and wait and wait for the truth to come out. So as a snare, it'll come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. So we have to take heed so you're not ensnared by all of this. I mean, I just was repenting, Lord. I've been so incredibly distracted, but I have had to push my body to the point of such utter exhaustion. And I was repenting before the Lord this morning with tears. And now I've got this incredible mess of things to be put away. Something that has to go into a china cabinet is in a box in front, so I can't get the door open. I haven't finished painting closets, so I can't be unpacking and put stuff away. I can't put stuff in drawers because they're all covered up with boxes. I was kind of going from one room to another going, okay, Lord, where do I start and what do I do? But I did get a box unpacked, but I can't say I got everything put away because I can't get to where it goes. But I just, I feel like I've been ensnared by the cares of this move. But this is going to pass. And whatever you're ensnared with will pass. We need to just confess our sin and get back into the business of seeking the Lord with all our heart, as Larry told us to do. For a snare will come upon them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch, therefore, and pray always that you may be accounted worthy to escape these things that will come to pass, and that you're accounted worthy to stand before the Son of Man. So this was in the daytime that he was teaching in the temple. At night he went out and stayed on the Mount of Olives. People came early in the morning to him in the temple to hear him speak again, and that's the way Luke 21 ends. I was able to buy something. I was a little horrified. It took me 2.5 years to find a place to live. I looked at 20 different cities in 7 different states. I traveled around multiple states looking for a place to be, let my fingers do the walking through the internet for hours and hours and hours trying to find something. I mean, I spent a year before I sold my house looking. And, there are homes that I'm very grateful God did not allow me to get. I made 7 offers. Finally got a counter offer that was ridiculous, but the seller did not fulfill everything she had promised to do. The fact that I got this house was really by the grace of God, because an hour before closing, we were still in negotiations because of, anyhow, it doesn't matter. So faith in Jesus. Yes, Satan is prevalent everywhere. Churches, schools, hospitals, government. Exactly. And we definitely, there are so many people that are going to say, Lord, didn't we do this and this and this in your name? And Jesus is going to say, I never knew you. We have to be so aware and alert to make sure not just that we know God, because the humans believe in God. They know God and they tremble. We need to make sure that he knows us. If you need to know where I am, you need to contact me through the email MaryEllenForLarry, the numeral 4, MaryEllenForLarry@yahoo.com. I'm happy to let you know. I'm just not going to announce it here. So just for my own safety. Absolutely, Pam. Let's have a spirit of thanksgiving and not complaining. Sure thing. So I still need to go back to the rental and put the trash out today and sweep the garage, and then I'm done. But at least I got one box emptied out today. No, two boxes. I emptied two boxes today. Yay! So far, so far. So, um, little by little, I can't get to the stove. I can't get to the microwave. I can't open the freezer. There's something wrong with the fridge. I'll leave the house and I'll come home and the temperature on the fridge has gone up into the 50s because the door doesn't shut. The magnet apparently doesn't close. Whatever. It's just stuff. It's just issues that'll get dealt with eventually. So I praise the Lord that I can turn the temperature down and I can have a few things in there. I'm thankful I have a little cash so I can go get something to eat and gas in the car to go do it. So it's all good, right? It's all good. There's not a problem. There's not a problem. Not really. So thanks for being here. And thanks for letting me yammer about the distractions of my life. Yes. So take it as a lesson from me. We can get so easily distracted by life. So we need, and sometimes what we're dealing with, we just, the ability to think about the Lord just goes out, just flies out of your brain. But we can invite him into our spaces, into our hearts, into our lives, into our mind, and say, Lord, I thank you in everything. And okay, this is a problem, but I have somebody I can call to fix it, or thank God I can replace it and I can afford to do it or work something out to be able to do it. It's just, God cares about the details of our life. So we don't have to be overwhelmed and encumbered by the details in our life. We can do this. We can do this, and we can do it with grace and with joy. So with that, this is Wednesday afternoon, and I will say have a blessed evening. And again, I'm going to keep repeating as long as I have to do this. As long as I have internet, I will be here tomorrow. Treasures in heaven, it just, some of these lessons I share have been hard earned, hard won, hard fought for. And I hope that I can be an encouragement to you as you see how I learn from what I'm going through and try to get back to what's important. I was thinking this morning, thanks, Gloria. Somebody said, well, you're going to take a break from doing your show, aren't you? And I don't think of it as a show. I think of it as a time for us to be together. And I guess like Larry, I'm finding this time is so important to me because we're together. We have some interaction. I know it's not optimal because it's just a chat, but I feel like you are friends. And I'm not going through this alone because we're sharing each in life together. Morgan's sister, okay, brain, please work. Morgan's sister yesterday was going through something. I think it was because of what she was going to be required to do because of work. Pray for her sister, Morgan's sister. Again, pray for Gloria and what she's doing to help her mom through the late stages of life. I appreciate prayer from my mom. She's in her mid-90s now, and she's slowing down, not able to see much anymore, and really struggling, and needs help. And that's a whole nother story that I'm not going to go into. But we care about one another, so I will be here. I will continue to be here because I want to be here. And the thought came to me this morning. There was a time when Larry did a blog called Nichols Notes. And we did that for about 8 months. And we did Nichols Notes and Mary Ellen's Musings. And I was thinking about starting that up again next year after Christmas, not before. But I thought instead of just doing Mary Ellen's Musings, that I would also have Nichols Notes, because I took aggressive notes every time he was on the air. And so I've got 4 years of transcripts of his shows, and I was thinking, I could read through some of that, and I could share some of the stories he told, or share some of the instruction he gave by way of Nichols notes as a reminder, and and then add some of my own stuff under Mary Ellen's musings. So if you might be interested in something like that, we'll talk about it more later when my life settles down. Like Larry, my brain is always so full of these creative ideas, and I just need to get my life a little better organized so I can do something like that. So God bless you. I've rambled on long enough. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.